Since 1979, the Pennsylvania Historic Preservation Awards have honored individuals and organizations that exhibited excellence in the field of historic preservation each year. These completed projects and ongoing programs are an inspiration to all of us working on preservation projects in our own communities and across the state. We present to you the 2020 Pennsylvania Historic Preservation Award projects and recipients. Initiative Awards. Initiative Awards recognize special initiatives, programs, partnerships, or a commitment to preservation and heritage values by individuals, organizations, municipalities, or groups. Community involvement has been key to the Governor Wolfe Historical Society's success since 1979 when it formed, by joining 3 smaller historical societies. Located in Bath, the Society and its volunteers play a big part in community involvement and preservation. They encourage community interaction, community respect for each other and their history, and pride for local heritage and architecture. In addition to their mission of research, collections, and preservation, the initial project of the new society was the rehabilitation of the 1785 Stone Wolf Academy. George Wolfe, the 7th governor of Pennsylvania, attended classes and later taught in this building. In 1981, the adjacent Ralston-McKean House, built in 1795 by James Ralston, the surveyor who laid out the town of Bath. Since 1979, the volunteers have raised $650,000, which has been used to restore the 18th and 19th century buildings and now offer free and low-cost events. The properties include the Academy, the Ralston-McKean House, and the 1867 Monocacy School. Continually providing free and low-cost events, in 2019, the Society held 11 meetings, 10 Summer Institute of Colonial Arts classes, 10 Open Museum Saturdays, 7 Tavern nights with artisans, food trucks, and antique dealers. Their energy and dedication can be felt like ripples, encouraging others to become involved while creating local pride in history and architecture. The Governor Wolfe Historical Society's involvement continues to strengthen the community and gives residents a sense of place and heritage.
With our Ralston-McKean House, the Nye Gardens, the 1700s Academy, which started the whole affair, our meadows, and the early school that we now use for our meetings and our fundraising. At the rear of the Wolfe Academy, we have a lovely patio that is used for a lot of public events. A grinding wheel from one of the old mills in the area, and right next door is the Ralston-McKean House. That's how close the two of them are located, with the Nye Garden.
For 20 years, visitors from around the world have come to visit the famous mobster Al Capone's cell at Eastern State Penitentiary Historic Site in Philadelphia. Considered the world's first true penitentiary, an architectural marvel designed to inspire penitence in the hearts of its inhabitants, the prison was in use from 1829 to 1971, then abandoned for over 20 years before becoming a museum and historic site in the early 1990s. Today, Eastern State draws more than 275 yearly visitors from around the world to experience the site in a predominantly unrestored condition. The research for Al Capone's cell was based on a newspaper article written during his 7-month stay that documented his luxurious cell. Based on this article, appropriate pieces of furniture were installed in 2000 amid the peeling paint and plaster. 2 years ago, the museum began a project that would restore the architectural finishes to match the present and more unified interpretation of Al Capone's cell. During the first week, an unexpected discovery led to extensive research that uncovered that the wrong cell was being restored. Eastern State changed the scope of work, leaving the exposed paint layers to tell the story of the prison's paint history in the first cell, and a replastering scope was completed in the cell next door with the appropriate lime wash and furnishings, including an additional bed to represent the discovery that Al Capone had a cellmate. The project demonstrates Eastern State's commitment to correctly telling the complicated history of the site and interpret the legacy of criminal justice reform. Called a pillar of the city, The Civic Club of Harrisburg has been dedicated to the improvement of Harrisburg since 1898, continually working towards a beautiful and safe city. Founder, Mira Lloyd Dock, was instrumental in the City Beautiful movement, created to improve living conditions in the city. At the time, most cities lacked proper sanitation and green spaces. As a result, modern sanitation and parks were created in Harrisburg. The Civic Club was instrumental in establishing the first kindergartens. During World War I, Overlook was used by the Red Cross to roll bandages and as a USO location. Today, members are actively engaged in civic work throughout the city. Bequeathed to the Civic Club, Overlook is a 1903 Tudor-style residence. The interior features include a grand staircase, cove ceiling, and intricate woodwork. The second floor's grand ballroom features floor-to-ceiling leaded glass windows that offer views of the river. Maintaining Overlook is challenging, but since 1914, the members remain committed to its preservation, seeking craftsmen who specialize in historic preservation. The most recent repairs have included an electrical upgrade to the entire building, extensive restoration after a water pipe burst in 2017, installation of copper downspouting, and a rebuilt scupper to accommodate the flooding rains. All the work is done with care and respect to the historical value of the property. The Civic Club is to be applauded for its hard work in the community and for being faithful stewards to Overlook. Their gate is open. Stop by and view their beautiful gardens, an oasis in the middle of the city. The Phipps Conservatory Exhibit Staging Center in Pittsburgh proves that the greenest buildings are the ones that already exist. The transformation of the windowless block building is truly amazing. The former Public Works building sat abandoned at one end of Phipps Conservatory's lush and vibrant campus. Instead of tearing the building down, the project team decided to take on the challenge to create a space that would be a safe and healthy environment for people, plants, and animals. With a proven track record of sustainable projects, including the self-generation of energy and water treatment on-site, the team was equipped to approach the maintenance facility project with the same goal of sustainability and creation of a healthy workplace. The Exhibit Staging Center contains a workshop, storage, office space, a yoga studio, meditation room, and a fitness center built with natural and local materials. Walls can be opened to increase airflow and natural light. Windows include a sensor that detects the inside and outside air quality, with a dashboard that will automatically open or close the windows. A living vegetable wall and green roof manage the rainwater. Solar panels produce needed power and store the excess in batteries to use on overcast and cloudy days. The exterior is made from Corten steel as a tribute to Pittsburgh's past. The beautiful lagoon on the site is used to store rainwater and is home to frogs and fish, creating natural filtration. Visitors can get a peek behind the sustainable scenes by entering a vestibule in the building and watching facility staff construct props for seasonal flower shows in real time. The Phipps inspires others to embrace sustainability with the creation of another extraordinary space. Construction Awards. Construction awards honor outstanding preservation, restoration, rehabilitation, or new construction projects that follow good preservation practices and are undertaken in a way that respects, preserves, and maintains the resource or district's historic character and integrity. Alan and Jennifer George moved out of the suburbs and onto East Main Street in Bath to establish their home and start a business and raise a family. Despite their family's urge to reconsider, they chose an 1850 brick house attached to an old hardware store with a large original storefront in severe disrepair. The Georges cleaned the brick facade to its original red, restored and painted trim, and replaced windows in the bay window with wooden windows with curved tops matching the originals. Inside, they restored the etched glass on the entry doors, the fireplace in the dining room, and replaced missing hardware. The former hardware store became Daily Grind, with an exposed brick wall and glowing pine floors. This past year, Daily Grind, their coffee and sandwich shop, was awarded one of the top 10 coffee shops in the Lehigh Valley, one of the top 10 places to grab a burger, and the #1 place to visit in Bath by Lehigh Valley Live. Since the Georges have done most of the restoration work themselves, they've been an inspiration to other homeowners rehabilitating their buildings. The Georges were among the first families in the Bath Historic District to do an accurate restoration. Pride in historic Bath architecture and respect for the business community in Bath have both grown thanks to the Georges. Two words that come to mind in the rehabilitation of the Barge Tavern are perseverance and creativity. The 2-story central chimney log house and tavern was built in 1787 by innkeeper Barge after the death of her husband George. She operated the tavern until her death in 1807. Changes over the years included covering the logs and replacement of the original windows. Only the subtle asymmetrical placement of the door and window on the facade gave a clue of what might be hidden beneath the cement asbestos shingles. When retired schoolteacher Beth Gunyon purchased the property located in the Strasburg Historic District, she spent the first 2 years removing asbestos siding, wallpaper, carpet, linoleum, acoustical tiles, and later layers of plaster. Every day brought new discoveries, some very exciting and some pretty discouraging. Additional baseboard and chair rail moldings were found in every room. Clear evidence was found for the size, configuration, and placement of the walk-in fireplace and original staircase. Early painted decorations were discovered on the walls of most rooms. Completed in 2 phases, the first was to restore the original structure as faithfully as possible, while preserving all salvageable material. From start to finish, this phase of the project took 7 years. During that time, in addition to completing the project, Beth weathered major health issues and got married. Vernon, her new husband, brought to the marriage a love for Beth, for antiques, for old houses, and one thing Beth never dreamed she would have: a collection suitable to furnish the masterpiece she had created. Having achieved the first goal, the second phase reconstructed the missing 1.5-story L, giving them the space they needed to enjoy the fruits of their labor despite health and mobility issues. They have created a comfortable home while faithfully preserving its historic integrity. The small rear alley structure on Beach Avenue in Pittsburgh was on the brink of collapse, known as the Electric Shop. It's one of several rear parcel buildings located in Pittsburgh's historic Allegheny West neighborhood. Alley shops often served as laundries, carriage shops, trades, and storage sheds at the turn of the 19th century. Many have been lost to the need for on-site parking. William and Margaret Price purchased the property in 1895 and built the 2-story brick building for electrical contractors, William and his son George. The 1906 Sanborn maps note the building as Electric Shop. When the property was purchased in 2017, vines covered the brick. It had been damaged by fire, and the roof had collapsed into the 4 walls. Structurally unsound from exposure to the elements, the project team needed to secure a stabilization permit, and temporary bracing was added to the interior and exterior walls. Together, the owner, designer, and engineer were determined to secure the historic integrity of the building. They were able to restore the exterior brick and mortar, as well as the original double-hung windows. With no original interior walls intact, it was fully remodeled and brought into compliance with current building and energy codes. The Electric Shop is a cozy and charming rental, within easy walking distance to downtown Pittsburgh. It's a valuable neighborhood resource and an important part of Allegheny West's history of the back alley services once located there. There are many urban areas with abandoned structures. This project shows the power of vision and creative reuse. When Somerset, Inc., a Main Street program, was formed in late 1993, the newly elected chair was G. Henry Cook, president and CEO of the Somerset Trust Company, Somerset's main local bank. The bank had not only grown over the years, but their commitment to historic preservation is a central focus. The 1872 Henry F. Schell House is a gateway into the uptown Somerset Historic District, operating as a nursing home for many years. In 1993, the home erected a large building behind the historic house, quadrupling the size of the facility. When the nursing home ceased operations in 2010, Somerset Trust stepped in to occupy the larger rear structure as their operations center. With no obvious use identified for the 1872 Schell house, Somerset Bank recognized its importance on Main Street and began rehabilitation using federal historic tax credits. Rehabilitation was challenging because of the many inappropriate modifications over the years. Porches had been altered. The brick had been sandblasted and painted. The interior room configuration had created bedrooms, bathrooms, and hallways for nursing home use. Gradually, the history of the house was revealed. The porch was restored. Parquet floors were uncovered, and original stairs and railings and a few 1870 doors with original faux-grained finishes were discovered in the attic. The rehabilitated Henry F. Schell House was christened the G. Henry Cook Enrichment Center, in honor of Mr. Cook's commitment to Somerset, Inc. and the historic district. It serves as bank offices. This $1.2 million project has increased the interest in and value placed on historic buildings and has reinforced the reputation that Somerset Trust has for caring deeply about the history, community values, and reinvestment in the downtown area that has always been Somerset Trust's vision. Construction Project Awards. Rehabilitation. In 1893, Adam Brinker founded the Lehigh Valley Cold Storage Company in Bethlehem. Designed in the Romanesque Revival style, the storage building is a 5-story structure inside with the appearance of a 3-story structure outside. The original architect wanted the building to blend into the heavily residential neighborhood. The company produced 40 tons of ice daily, and the storage building could store the ice and 60,000 cases of eggs. It remained a cold storage facility until the 1950s. Reuse of a windowless building into 30 apartments while respecting the historical appearance and obtaining historic tax credits presented a challenge. The windows in this building are recessed blind openings, wherein the window portion is set back 1 full brick width and appear to accommodate a window. While at first glance it appears the brick was a later infill of a prior window opening, it is not. Removing the brick or opening the window and installing functioning windows was not an option and would not meet the Secretary of the Interior standards. The solution lay on the inside. The elevations along 4th and Adams Streets were left intact. The units were designed perpendicular to 4th Street with 67 new windows facing east into a courtyard. The ground floor offers retail space, and a courtyard hosts a cafe and restaurant that's open to the public. Much of the industrial charm was retained, original wood beams and rustic brick walls. Brinker Lofts is simply a really cool place to live. In the heart of Pittsburgh's downtown, the Distrikt Hotel was once a residence for young women, owned by the Salvation Army. Designed by architect Thomas Pringle, it was constructed in 1924 with a large 1930 addition. The Gothic Revival-style building features limestone blocks, stained glass windows, ornate vaulted beams, and hardwood accents. Originally a charitable social service institution, it provided vital services to the poor, marginalized, and underserved members of the community. The section known as the Evangeline Residence was unique to the Salvation Army because it provided a safe, clean, comprehensive living facility for professional women, rather than just women in need. Named after the first female general, Evangeline Booth, it consisted of 229 sleeping rooms and a dining room that was operated exclusively for the residents of the building and the officers of the Salvation Army. The building also featured a lounge, auditorium, swimming pool, basketball court, theater, and chapel. The Salvation Army sold the building in 2004 and relocated its administrative center. 5 years later, the lovely building was transformed into the Distrikt Hotel Pittsburgh. What was once the 800-seat, 2-story chapel and stage, located in the original 1924 tower, is now an expansive lobby for the hotel. The former gymnasium has been converted into a restaurant and makes use of the running track as a mezzanine, which connects the entry to street level. The original scoreboard from the gymnasium is displayed in the fitness center on the lower level. The greatest challenge of the rehabilitation was uniting the two buildings. The solution was the addition of new elevators and stairs at the center as a connecting bridge. Today, the Distrikt Hotel offers coveted views of downtown and the Monongahela River, providing 185 rooms and dining, with architectural details that are a reminder of its history of service as a charitable organization. Built between 1799 and 1891, this impressive Georgian-style brick building served as Philadelphia's second quarantine station, as the city managed the yellow fever epidemic that killed 5% of the population in 1793, and many more over the next several years. Constructed along the Delaware River, each vessel scheduled to deliver goods or passengers to Philadelphia was required to stop at this quarantine station, so the passengers could be examined for yellow fever and/or other illnesses. Anyone found with symptoms was quarantined until they either recovered or passed away. The building continued to serve as the city's quarantine station for nearly 100 years. The building was added to Preservation Pennsylvania's at-risk list because of continuing development pressure, including a threat in 2005 to demolish the building for airport satellite parking. Tinicum Township purchased the building in 2005. University of Pennsylvania architecture students researched the property and developed ideas for its reuse. In 2012, the township began the process to rehabilitate the building, including the reconstruction of the porch and to rehabilitate the interior to accommodate the township offices and a future museum to interpret the history of the Lazaretto. Saving the historic Lazaretto from demolition was important to Tinicum Township and to the historians and preservationists across Pennsylvania and beyond. The history and importance of the building, which has been largely unknown at the start of the project, will now be celebrated. We applaud Tinicum Township for recognizing the importance of the building and saving the building and site for the future. When lightning struck the clock tower of the 1890 Carnegie Free Library of Allegheny in 2006, causing a 3-ton piece of granite to crash through the roof, the library closed and the building sat vacant. Across the street, the Children's Museum of Pittsburgh saw potential in what they called a beautiful ruin. They created a learning space for older children while uncovering original archways, columns, and mosaic floors. The result is a magical space known as the Museum Lab. As the design team peeled away the library's 1970s renovation, elements of original construction were revealed, stabilized, and preserved, providing open-ended, visitor-led opportunities for discovery into the layered history became a method of bridging the mission for rehabilitation and the educational mission of Museum Lab. A section of the library's stacks were structural and could not be efficiently removed. Instead, the team worked together to design a way to reuse shelving from the stacks in other parts of the museum while making space for a 3-story immersive climbing structure in the stack space. Museum Lab is partnering with Manchester Academic Charter School, integrating the daily school schedule with the Museum Lab classes. The project is the embodiment of their vision to honor the history of the space, its importance to the community, and the significance of the period in Pittsburgh's history in which it was built. Just as libraries created new space for people to learn, Museum Lab reinvents how we understand education and is a place where kids 10+ can have cutting-edge experiences in art, tech, and making. It's just the thing for their inquiring minds, increasing skills, and independent inclinations. Considered one of architect Louis Kahn's most important works of the mid-20th century, the Richards Medical Research Laboratory on the University of Pennsylvania campus in Philadelphia brought broad international recognition to him. Constructed between 1957 and 1963, the complex is a series of 3 8-story towers attached in pinwheel formation to a central 4th tower that houses mechanical systems, stairs, and elevators. It was designated a National Historic Landmark in 2009. The building's large floor plates, outdated and inefficient systems, and oversized windows made it difficult to meet current program needs. The structural integrity of the building was threatened. The window frames had weakened. There was too much sun exposure for wet lab use. And entry to the building was difficult due to the exhaust ducts in the service tower. The rehabilitation involved removing the wet bench science lab, replacing it with a dry lab and computational space. The team also came up with a kit of parts that included a steel frame with panels of wood and glass. The research space could then be tailored to fit various group needs. High-performance glass windows replaced the old glass. It looked identical, but improved the properties of light and energy performance. The terrazzo and exposed concrete were cleaned and conserved. The windowless service tower was repurposed for use as testing and conference space. The removal of the obsolete ductwork allowed for an elevator to be installed to improve access. Richard Medical Research Laboratory building is once again as functional as it is beautiful. Facility and staff can work in a space that meets their needs and is filled with light, form, and beauty.
We're looking now at a close-up of one of the large windows in one of the cantilevered corners of the building, where the Virendell truss is exposed above with two smaller lights of glass, and this huge, over 12-foot long piece of glass sits below it. These are the original stainless steel window frames that were completely restored with all new glazing placed and all new glazing seals. A big part of the exterior envelope repair for this project included concrete repairs. In many locations, the original concrete had spalled off, rebar was showing through. Working with our structural engineer, facade consultant CVM, we cut out patches, worked very hard to find an appropriate patching mix, and went back and covered these up. This elevator is now in what was a shaft that contained exhaust ducts for fume hoods. Those have all been removed from the building, so the space is available. This elevator only drops down 30 inches to the grade plane, but it makes the main entrance of the building accessible to disabled.
I believe that we still kept the building as close to the diagram that he intended, even in its new use, allowing what Kahn actually envisioned as an open lab space to exist closer to what he may have envisioned.
After decades of neglect and a loss to one of its buildings to fire, years of concerted efforts between public and private entities have ushered the Simon Silk Mill into a new era. The mill, located in Easton, is a diverse live-work community born out of the rehabilitation of the former R&H Simon Silk Mill. Founded in the early 1880s, this historic complex used for the manufacturing of silk has approximately 300,000 square feet of space on 13 acres of land along the picturesque Bushkill Creek. The end of 2019 marked the completion of the mill's multi-year transformation. It now hosts 150 apartments, 30-plus small businesses, event space, and has a direct pedestrian connection across the creek to the neighboring Carl Sterner Arch Trail. What was once a dilapidated eyesore along a gateway entry to the city of Easton is now a bustling hub of residents, diners, shoppers, and outdoor enthusiasts, breathing new life into a long-ignored section of the city. The mill adds a unique element to the city's comprehensive planning strategy of establishing creative and enduring environments that benefit all residents, and plays a significant role in the improvement of one of its largest, but admittedly struggling neighborhoods, known as the West Ward. The mill's rehabilitation has allowed for a substantial piece of historic architecture to come back into use, avoiding unnecessary contributions to landfills. It has provided new opportunities in employment, housing, and recreation, all while highlighting the beauty and resilience of its remarkable design. Using historic tax credits and an approach that keeps the feel of its industrial history intact, the charm of the old brick, large windows, and courtyards create a welcoming space to live and work. Construction Project Awards. Restoration. Situated in front of the Center County Courthouse in Bellefonte, the Center County Soldiers and Sailors Memorial and Curtin Monument was dedicated in 1906 to honor the sacrifices of many local men and women who have served in the U.S. military, with its inscription reading, "To those who died to keep the nation whole." This memorial is dedicated in grateful appreciation. This memorial was designed by Joseph M. Houston, the same person who designed the Capitol in Harrisburg, and includes a monument of Andrew Curtin, who was born in Bellefonte and was the governor of Pennsylvania during the Civil War. Over time, the granite, bronze, and cast iron were in a state of deterioration from exposure to the elements and poor repairs made in the 1970s. With the help of a Keystone Historic Preservation Grant through the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission, the granite was cleaned. Blistered granite surfaces were removed to stop further deterioration, and the inscription was recut. The bronze plaques and sculptures were cleaned and detailed to replace the loss of patina. The monument remained open during the conservation process so the community could watch the progress. A perpetual maintenance program was developed to guide annual inspections and care for this symbol of patriotism and heritage. In July of 1863, a thriving family farm was suddenly transformed as the Union 11th Corps converted the property to a field hospital for more than 1,900 wounded soldiers. The George Spangler Farm and Field Hospital serves as one of the best examples of a Corps-level field hospital used during the Battle of Gettysburg. Located within the Gettysburg National Military Park, the farm is now open to visitors after 10 years of research and the careful restoration of the house, barn, smokehouse, and summer kitchen. The Gettysburg Foundation acquired the farmstead in 2008 and worked with the design team to restore the farm to its 1863 condition. The summer kitchen was highly significant due to its association with the death of General Lewis Armistead, who was injured during Pickett's charge. First-hand accounts describe the barn's use as a field hospital with operations performed on the upper level and wounded lying in the stalls on the ground level. The barn was in poor condition and emergency stabilization was needed. The barn is the focal point of this magnificent living history museum. Visitors can walk the grounds, hear stories of first-hand accounts of the battle, and watch living history demonstrations about life on the farm and at the field hospital in 1863. The George Spangler Farm and Field Hospital illustrates the severity of war and its impact on the community that lived there. From 1905 to 1907, New York architects Brown, Gillespie, and Carroll oversaw construction of the granite Calvary United Methodist Church in the Cedar Park neighborhood of Philadelphia. The 110-foot tower rising from the structure and the church's location at the junction of a 5-point crossing is quite breathtaking. The prominent location, combined with the morning or afternoon sun, draw the eye of any passerby to the multi-panel arched pair of signed Louis Comfort Tiffany-designed windows, Ascension and Resurrection. Using Keystone Historic Preservation Grant funds and a private bequest, the Resurrection window was removed, repaired, and reinstalled. Its companion, Ascension, has been repaired and stabilized. The care and preservation of the Tiffany windows only tells a portion of the story of Calvary UMC. Through a separate nonprofit organization created by the congregation in 2000. The Calvary Center for Culture and Community provides space and partners with a wide array of community organizations and religious congregations in service to the surrounding neighborhoods and beyond. It shines like a beacon of hope and faith, providing a home for faith congregations, a professional community theater, a meeting place for people in recovery, the University City Historical Society, and Cedar Park neighbors. Preservation of the historic building serves preservation of the community. As the spread of gentrification follows up from the center city, CCCC offers Calvary UMC as a space for cultivating and maintaining community ties across generations, ethnic and social groups, and labels of identity. The granite stones of Calvary UMC and the light of its window are more than symbols or structures. They support the community's preservation of human dignity, structural integrity, and provide a firm foundation for future generations.
As I reflect on my time, all the time I've spent at Calvary, in my youth as a part of Camp Sojourner, as once a camper, and then TLI, Team Leadership Institute, and then also as a staff preparing for our many year-round events and also preparing for our stay-away week at camp. I just really find a home within Calvary for just a headquarters, a place to brainstorm, a place of laughter, bunch of fun, an extreme resource for all the things that we do to make possible. It's definitely an inlet for the community. It's just a really amazing spot.
The 3rd Street Alliance for Women and Children, housed in the Simon Mansion, 1902, and the adjoining Bixler Ward House, 1923, in Easton, is an architectural gem and a treasure to those it serves. With a mission to inspire and equip women, children, and families to live, learn, and thrive, it provides the community with 21st century STEM education and broad supportive services for women and children who need shelter. The Simon Mansion was built for Herman and Elizabeth Simon, owner of the R&H Simon Silk Manufacturing Complex. The Bixler Mansion was built for Grace Simon Bixler Ward. In 1929, the properties were sold to the YWCA, the beginning of the mansion with a mission effort that grew into the 3rd Street Alliance. The Simon Mansion is filled with stained glass windows. The most impressive of these is the large ley light assembly hovering above the main stair hall, depicting nature surrounding a trellis. Originally designed to transmit light from a skylight above to the grand stair hall below, a floor was infilled between the elevated walkway, cutting off the ley light from natural sunlight. Substantial issues with the ley light assembly identified that the wood frame support structure had been compromised due to floor alterations, and the lead came matrix was failing. The complicated task was to maintain the previously added playroom for children above the priceless ley light. The floor structure above was rebuilt, framing was reinforced, cooler LED lighting was introduced, and the ley light panels were restored and reset, while providing the residents with safe and nurturing environment. The 3rd Street Alliance shares the spectacular and historically significant areas of the building with the public. Their commitment to serving the community and sharing their home shines as proof that beauty and history is something that everyone needs. Special Focus Award, Preservation Planning. Established in 1867, Allegheny Commons is Pittsburgh's oldest park. Originally designed with elaborate strolling paths, accented by fountains and monument at key focal points. While some of the path system was streamlined in the 1930s, the promenade still provided park visitors a lovely place to walk, socialize, and rest. The park originally contained 5 ornamental fountains, but all were removed over time. The Allegheny Commons Initiative, a citizens advocacy group formed in 1999, produced a master plan in 2002 to guide the work plan for the National Register site. Between 2005 and 2009, the East Commons Central Promenade was restored. Still missing was the Northeast Fountain, the first fountain built in the Commons. Originally a 50-foot circular stone basin with a large rim of heavy cut stone. The centerpiece was a 6-foot-high, 6-foot diameter Grecian urn with a plume of water that could reach 70 feet. 16 smaller jets around the basin were aimed at the urn. It was a focal point of the park until it was decommissioned after World War II. Enlisting the help of the Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy, a reconstruction of the Northeast Fountain was undertaken, closely followed the 1935 drawings of the park that had simplified the Victorian design. Completed in 2019, the fountain matched the original in size and scale. The park is the front yard for many of Pittsburgh's most socio-economically and racially diverse neighborhoods, and it has become a source of pride and social interactions for all. The dedication of a concerned citizens group, combined with the work of the Pittsburgh Park Conservancy, is a testament to what can be accomplished with a good plan and perseverance. James Buchanan, 15th President of the United States, purchased a federal-style house and its 22 acres of land near Lancaster in 1848. Buchanan made 3 unsuccessful bids for the presidency, but his reputation as a compromiser made him an acceptable Democratic candidate in 1856 in the hopes that he would be able to avoid war. Wheatland became the symbol of his front porch campaign, a low-key effort where candidates remained close to home. The last private owners of Wheatland bequeathed 1/2 of the property to the Lancaster County Historical Society, and in 1936, the Junior League of Lancaster purchased the remainder of the property. It's now owned and operated by Lancaster History. Because of the abundance of period illustrations during Buchanan's residency, especially during the campaigns he ran from his home, and the attention paid to that documentation in several restoration campaigns, Wheatland is arguably the most faithful representation of its period of significance of any presidential residence or site. Lancaster History has been an excellent steward, conducting regular assessments and carefully guiding preservation efforts to maintain the building. A CAP, Collections Assessment for Preservation, in 2006, and a preservation plan in 2015 identified the slate roof as a high-priority item. After assessing the existing conditions, the design team decided that it would be more cost-effective and greatly increase the longevity of the new slate roof to expand the project scope to include rebuilding and repointing the masonry chimneys and gable walls that were accessible only from the roof, replacing all metal flashing and copings, replacing all chimney caps, replacing and rerouting the lightning protection cabling, installing roof ventilation, and restoring and painting the millwork and windows of the dormers. Lancaster History demonstrates that careful planning and patience are the keys to the care and preservation of this National Historic Landmark. Special Focus Award.
Hello, I'm Michael Britt, President and CEO of MODJESKI & Masters. This next award is named for Ralph MODJESKI, founder of our firm, and since this award's inception in 2008, we have been proud to sponsor this award and participate in this presentation. Ralph MODJESKI, considered America's greatest bridge builder, emigrated from Poland in 1876 at the age of 15. In 1885, he graduated from the School of Roads and Bridges in France at the top of his class. He went on to become a highly successful civil engineer and one of the 20th century's most famous designers and builders of bridges. In 1930, MODJESKI was awarded the Fritz Gold Medal with a citation for his genius in combining strength and beauty. He was also honored by the Pennsylvania State Legislature in 1966 by a resolution citing him as one of America's greatest inventors. In 1893, he started his own firm that became known as MODJESKI & Masters when Frank M. Masters joined the firm in 1924. He remained professionally active until 1934 and died in 1940. This award honors excellence in transportation design, preservation, archaeology, and this year's recipient embodies the spirit of Ralph MODJESKI. Congratulations to the Penn Street Bridge Rehabilitation Project in West Reading, Berks County.
Constructed in 1913, the 14-span Penn Street Bridge is a gateway to Reading, serving as a vital link from western Berks County, crossing the Schuylkill River, and serving 22,000 daily commuters. The iconic concrete arch bridge is an excellent example of the City Beautiful movement that encouraged urban planners to consider aesthetic design of civic architecture. Open spandrel bridges were common because of their graceful but imposing design and inherent beauty. These types of bridges were economical because less material was used to construct the bridge. The project goal was to rehabilitate and extend the life of the more than 100-year-old bridge, ensuring that it met modern safety standards while still preserving its historic integrity. The reconstruction of reticulated balustrades and outlooks, which had been closed in the 1950s because of deterioration, restored the bridge's historical appearance and aesthetic appeal. A combination of precast and cast-in-place concrete elements were used to accommodate modern lighting fixtures, and ensured the complex balustrade geometry was constructed to meet modern standards. To showcase the open spandrel arches and architectural detailing, new energy-efficient LED lighting was installed beneath the bridge. Lighting the inside of the arch spans emphasizes the arches through negative space, while downlighting highlighted the pier faces, creating a dramatic visual effect at night without compromising the bridge's historical character. Rehabilitation of the Penn Street Bridge was completed 4 weeks ahead of schedule and within 2% of the original bid. Safer for motorists and pedestrians, structurally sound, and designed to extend service life, the rehabilitated landmark offers inspiration for the continued revitalization of the Reading community. The Reading Eagle described the new bridge as a metaphor for what's possible for the city. A few short years ago, the newspaper noted, the span over the Schuylkill River was a crumbling embarrassment. Now, it's an impressive gateway to the city. The next step is to make sure the rest of the city lives up to its grand entrance. Honor Awards. John B. Haynes IV's love of history began as a boy, watching his father fix up old houses. When he began to restore the home we lived in, I watched what he did and became a purist. I'm a stickler for the right molding, the right hardware, right down to the right nails, said John. In 1957, John established a small excavating company in Montgomery County. His business ran out of his family's farm, a quintessential Pennsylvania farmstead with a bank barn and 2 historic farmhouses. The barn housed a growing fleet of excavating equipment. The farmstead would play a pivotal role not just in his company's trajectory to become one of the nation's foremost civil engineering and construction firms, but in John's path as a preservationist. Following in his father's footsteps, John restored his first farm in Schwenksville, then acquired the farm he currently calls home near Pennburg. The house was owned by Colonel Andrew Reed, an important leader in Washington's army. Its restoration, as well as that of other historic properties John has restored along the Jerryville Pike, were monumental undertakings. Today, they present a breathtaking sight for motorists and thousands of visitors who come from far and wide to experience John's other preservation passion: historic equipment and vehicles. Situated on 16 acres of beautifully manicured grounds, the Haynes Estate contains 19,000 square feet of museum space, filled with the Mid-Atlantic region's finest collections of trucks, vehicles, and equipment, as well as the beautifully restored Reed House and a 1740 tannery. In 2019, the Haynes Historical Foundation was established as a nonprofit to preserve and protect the collections and historic grounds. Their mission is to honor the past by keeping history alive, so future generations can experience and celebrate history. Henry A. Jordan Award. Henry Jordan was a passionate preservationist and great friend of Preservation Pennsylvania. He was a member of the Board of Preservation Pennsylvania from 1987 to 1993, serving as the board chairman from 1989 to 1992, and served as an advisor until his death in 2010. He willingly gave his time, advice, and encouragement, and was a strong financial supporter of historic preservation. In keeping with Henry's belief that it is at the local level where real historic preservation occurs, the Henry A. Jordan Award recognizes outstanding historic preservation efforts at the local level. Historic Gettysburg-Adams County, HGAC's Barn Preservation Project, is a volunteer-led grassroots program that recognizes and celebrates the importance of rural history in the county and provides education, financial assistance, research, and preservation techniques to encourage and support the preservation of historic barns. HGAC created the Adams County Barn Registry through a grant from the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission, PHMC, in 2005. Currently, 356 barns are listed out of an estimated 1,500 historic barns in the 500-square-mile county. After each survey is completed, the data from the survey is entered into a database, and the information, including captioned photos and maps, is provided to the barn owner, addressing the unique aspects of the barn, along with recommendations for dealing with threats to the barn, such as failing foundations, leaking roofs, and other structural issues. In 2013, HGAC began providing matching grants up to $2,500 to barn owners to undertake essential preservation work. HGAC has provided 17 grants to barn owners, totaling $26,585. And along with matching funds, represents over $100,000 of work completed. Funding for the grants comes from HGAC fundraising activities, such as the annual Barn Art Show and Sale, Civil War-era barn dances, special film screenings, and the historic barn tours. Another achievement of the project has been the growth of partnerships with groups, including the PHMC, the Historic Barn and Farm Foundation of PA, the National Barn Alliance, the Gettysburg Foundation, and the National Park Service, and resulted in legislation declaring 2015 the Year of the Pennsylvania Barn. HGAC, founded in 1975, fosters the preservation, interpretation, and welfare of the historic and cultural resources of Adams County. This group clearly stands out as a leader in preservation, and their dedication to their local community demonstrates the local spirit of the Henry Jordan Award.
Good afternoon. I'm Roy Smith, a past chair of the Board of Directors of Preservation Pennsylvania and currently a member of the Board of Advisors. It is my privilege to introduce this year's F. Otto Haas Award winner. But before I do, let me add my congratulations to all those other award winners at today's ceremony. We truly appreciate your efforts in preserving our unique heritage. F. Otto Haas was a highly respected preservationist and philanthropist who was a founding member of Preservation Pennsylvania, a two-term board chair, and a valued advisor until his death in 1994. His dedication to Preservation Pennsylvania and historic preservation in the Commonwealth continues to inspire us today. His legacy is carried on with the F. Otto Haas Award, which recognizes those people and organizations whose efforts and contributions over time have been instrumental in the preservation of our historic and natural resources. I am honored to be a member of that special group of 32 past Haas Award recipients and to welcome Brenda Barrett as the newest member to the group. I've known Brenda for nearly 20 years and over that time have appreciated and respected her dedication to preservation of both the built and the natural environment. If I had to describe her approach to preservation in a couple of words, it would be with passion. Brenda truly deserves the recognition she is getting today. Brenda, here is a virtual hug from me. Thank you.
Brenda Barrett has dedicated 40-plus years to the field of historic preservation, conservation, and cultural resources. She is a nationally recognized leader in historic preservation, heritage, and landscape conservation, and her belief that preserving the tangible in our history helps to create a healthy society is at the core of her determination. While in law school, Brenda helped draft the Pennsylvania Historic Preservation Act of 1978. She participated in the creation of the Office of Historic Preservation, SHPO, in 1979, and the subsequent formation of the Bureau for Historic Preservation, BHP, within the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission. Her leadership skills and knowledge of state and federal laws, particularly Section 106, strengthened the BHP's role on a statewide level. During her tenure at the BHP, she was a partner in the creation of Pennsylvania's heritage areas. After 22 years at the BHP, Brenda became the National Coordinator for Heritage Areas in the National Park Service in 2001. It was under her guidance that national heritage areas were able to take a multi-jurisdictional approach They created partnerships with different disciplines across local, regional, and state boundaries. Brenda returned to the Commonwealth in 2007 as Director of Recreation and Conservation at the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, DCNR. During her tenure, she was instrumental in the expansion of the Conservation Landscape Initiative. She is an adjunct faculty lecturer at Johns Hopkins University in the Cultural Heritage Management Program. As the former Vice President of U.S. ICOMOS, she is also active in international heritage matters as a reviewer for World Heritage nomination and as an expert member of the International Scientific Committee on Cultural Landscapes. Brenda is a graduate of the University of Colorado Boulder in Anthropology, 1971. She received her Master's of Science degree in Archaeology from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, 1974, and her Doctor of Law degree from the Dickinson School of Law, Pennsylvania State University, 1977. She started her preservation career as a field archaeologist in Canada and California. Her archaeology experience brought her to oversee excavations at Valley Force and Washington's Crossing, and led to her outstanding work in Pennsylvania and beyond.
Hi, I'm Brenda Barrett, and I'm honored to receive the 2020 Preservation of Pennsylvania Otto Haas Award. And in accepting this award, I join other distinguished historic preservationists, many of whom were colleagues and friends, and all of whom influenced and inspired our work. And the award continued to inspire. Let me tell you a story. With the pandemic, my husband and myself have been sheltering in our neighborhood in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. When a divisive community preservation issue arose, I pondered, should I get involved in this controversy? And then I thought, wait a minute, I am the Otto Haas Award winner. What would she do? So I rolled up my sleeves, and with the help of many colleagues and neighbors, we worked out what I think is going to be a great win-win solution for historic preservation. So the message is, whether you're in your own backyard or on the world stage, you can continue to make a difference, and we need to savor every success and not draw back. And finally, this award is very special to me because Otto Haas knew my grandfather, and a man who passed away when I was only 5 years old. So the award connects me to the past and to the present in a very wonderful way. So thank you, Preservation Pennsylvania, for this award, and let's continue the good work.
Congratulations to all the Pennsylvania Historic Preservation Award recipients.